Today we are continuing our journey back through all of the Final Fantasy TCG sets to Crystal Dominion. Crystal Dominion is packed with a ton of really great full art cards, and today I'm going to give you my top 5 standout cards from this set. Without a doubt, the top standout card from Crystal Dominion is this Terra full art. Now, Terra is a classic character from Final Fantasy VI, and while there have been other Terra cards in the Final Fantasy TCG, this one is easily my favorite. The art is absolutely gorgeous with very vibrant colors and a very dynamic gesture by Terra herself, very dramatically displayed in front of some kind of Magitech piece, but also draped with some flowers on the other side. Now, this card debuted for under $50 on TCG Player, and it is now sitting at a TCG Player market price of $131.94. It has not seen a big dip at all compared to many of the cards in the Final Fantasy TCG and in other TCGs and in collectibles as a whole. It seems to be withstanding the storm very well. Sales as recent as just September, so there's a little bit of a lull in sales right now, at least on TCG Player, but like other full art cards, you just don't see a whole lot listed all at once. Very few sellers have more than one copy listed for sale. Now, this is just my speculation, but I really believe that this card has a lot of long-term potential. Terra will always remain a classic character in the Final Fantasy franchise. Final Fantasy VI is a real standout title, and honestly, I would put it up there with the Tifa full art from Opus 11. Even though it is not priced anywhere near that Tifa card, I feel like this one really is at that caliber, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to wait on a better version of a Terra card in the Final Fantasy TCG. I mean, maybe a full art and mono illustrated one, but honestly, I think this is about as good as it gets. Okay, so if you saw my top 5 cards from Emissaries of Light, you know I'm a big fan of the Shantoto full art card from that set. And here we have another Final Fantasy XI character in Robo Akbel. Now, I'm not super familiar with this character, but I'm assuming he's another NPC trust you can enlist to aid you in battle. And you know I love my Final Fantasy XI cards in Final Fantasy TCG. I just think that it's such a unique title in the Final Fantasy franchise, being the first MMORPG bearing the Final Fantasy name, but also being, I think, one of the classic MMORPGs of the genre that will become a classic in video game history over time. And so I think that there is a lot of potential for these Final Fantasy XI characters in full art form and any kind of special rarity form from the Final Fantasy TCG. I like that we have more representation by the Lalafels here, and I think it's really cool to see NPC trusts becoming full art cards. It would be awesome to see a full art version of every trust you can enlist in Final Fantasy XI. Now, this is probably not the most well-known character from Final Fantasy XI, certainly not as well known as Shantoto, but I do like the eye appeal on this card. I like all the various shades of purple coming together, and it does appear to be like an original illustration, so that's pretty unique to the card as well. Now, this card is breaking the trend of a lot of cards, not only in the Final Fantasy TCG, but in cards and collectibles as a whole. By not really seeing a dip, we have seen steady sales of this card on TCG Player, and prices have been steadily climbing from around $33 up to right now around $36. However, there seems to have been a pretty big buyout of this card. If you look over on TCG Player, there haven't been a lot of sales since September. However, there are only 2 listings right now, and the lowest listing is at $150. So market activity in Final Fantasy TCG may be slow, but it doesn't seem like there is a lot of restocking going on with some of these Final Fantasy TCG cards, and so we may be seeing an upward price trend as a result. Another card bucking the usual trend here, not a full art card. This is Nyx from Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive. Now, this is actually the movie adaptation of Final Fantasy 15, not adaptation, but like a prequel. Now, I haven't gotten a chance to see this movie, but I do know that there are some good reviews about this movie, that it was received well, as the CGI Final Fantasy movies typically are. Now, in my top 5 list, I do sometimes include some non-full art cards. So fun fact, Nyx is voiced by Aaron Paul in the movie. And I just think that it's really cool to see some of these crossover cards for specifically movie adaptations or movie crossovers of certain Final Fantasy titles. Now, again, I haven't gotten a chance to see this movie, but the eye appeal of this is really nice. Great shades and hues of purples and blues coming together. I like the very assured and confident gesture of our subject here with this tiger. I don't know if this is like something he can summon, or maybe it's just kind of representative of his character, or maybe some kind of like royal house he comes from. It says Kingsglaive right there on there next to forward above the text box. Now, I think this is going to be a very niche card for a lot of collectors. You know, there are people like me who haven't even seen the movie yet, and of course, most fans are going to gravitate to the games. But I always thought that movie tie-ins and crossover cards have a really interesting appeal, because even if someone gets tired of the game, they may find it interesting to maybe go after something from the movie. Personally, I would love to see some Final Fantasy spirits within cards in the Final Fantasy TCG at some point. Now, this card isn't doing too bad for the overall economic environment. It's staying pretty sideways, some mellow ups and downs, with a general market price on TCG Player of $12.35. For the foil version, remember, some of these cards do come in foil and non-foil, and you always want to be going after the foil version as a collector. And as always, given the big name of the Final Fantasy TCG, I'm always a little bit surprised to see such low supply of some of these cards. I mean, we're seeing multiple listings of this card, but most sellers are at least only listing one at a time. So it's hard to imagine that a lot of people have a ton of these, that they're just sitting on them in bulk. So maybe Square's not printing these to oblivion. I don't know, I'm just speculating, but I think this is a really cool card, a little bit different, a little bit more under the radar to go after. Okay, so for our final two here, I do have some more non-full art cards that I think are really great collector pickups. Now, both of these come in foil and non-foil versions, and you want to get the foil version. So that is the one that I'm referring to. And here we have Lightning. Now, the reason that I love this card is it depicts all of the main characters from Final Fantasy 13 all together in this very dynamic pose, and they are all depicted on Pulse here, which is the final planet you kind of go down to after a very linear game, and it really opens up into kind of a more traditional kind of Final Fantasy game. You've got what I believe is like that crystallized lassie in the background there. If you've played Final Fantasy 13, you're going to recognize this environment. You're going to kind of recognize this whole scene around the end of the game, especially with that epic finale when they're all kind of falling down from this sky here. Everyone's depicted very dramatically here, and it almost looks like it could be like the cover art for a game or for a poster representing the game. There are even really small details here that I think help make this a really standout card. Just that number 1 in the top left corner. I know that's a gameplay feature, has something to do with like the resource cost or something, but I think it kind of brings attention to this card as well as being like sort of like one of the number 1 cards for Lightning for Final Fantasy 13 to maybe go after, kind of one of the more interesting cards. It says Ravager or Lassie down there right above the text box, and I believe that Lightning was sort of default the Ravager class in the game. I may be wrong about that. I think maybe she could have also been a warrior or a gladiator as well, but it also says Lassie. And if you have played Final Fantasy 13, you know there is a very almost kind of convoluted storyline around the Lassie and your relationship to the Lassie, and I think you become a Lassie at some point. And so I think everything is just really coming together for this card. Even though it's not full art, I think this is an awesome collector's card to go after. We haven't seen a full art Lightning quite like this, with all of the cast of characters assembled together. I think it's just got an epic look to it, and I think that this is a solid one to go after. And the market seems to agree. We are seeing steady increases in price on this card, a current TCG market price for the foil version of $20.64, and just one listing at $30 for the foil version. Finally, we have Noctis in foil form, not the full art, from Crystal Dominion. Now, this one might come as a little bit of a surprise, and I'm going to explain why. There is a full art version of this exact card in promo form, and at first glance it may seem like a no-brainer to just get the full art version because of the eye appeal of the full art form. However, if you go look at TCG Player, those promo cards are actually going for less than the foil version of this non-full art version. And I think that may have to do with rarity, maybe scarcity of these cards. Now, I'm just speculating here because I don't know the exact supply numbers, but there do appear to be more listed in greater quantity at a time of those promo cards. I think they may have been a buy a box promo or something like that. And it may just be that it is harder to pull this card than it is just to grab one of the promo versions. You see a foil market price on TCG Player of $4.66. However, the lowest price that you're going to see for foil versions of this card are sitting at around $7 at TCG Player. So it looks like some of the supply is getting bought up, and people, at least at the present moment, are not really willing to part with them for less than around $7, and then the price kind of moves up from there. I do like the eye appeal on this, even though it is not the full art form. I think some of these non-full art versions, as long as they have some scarcity and chase to them, do have a lot of appeal in their sort of classic card design where it's not full art, the text box takes up a little bit more space, and it still presents really well. I think this is one of the better images from the Final Fantasy 15 cards that we have, with Noctis here, and I think her name is Luna, or Luna Freya, the sort of main female protagonist from the game, in a very celebratory gesture in front of what I think is the main kingdom here. I haven't had a chance to play through all of Final Fantasy 15 yet, so do correct me on any details I'm missing here. But I think it's a great card, and not the most expensive card, not a full art, but I think another one of those under the radar ones that you just can't go wrong with. And that does it for my top 5 picks from Crystal Dominion. Let me know what you thought about my picks down in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Be sure to join our Fellowship of Collectors. I am going to be continuing back in time and giving you my top 5 picks from every Final Fantasy TCG set. If you enjoyed this video, you're probably going to enjoy a similar video I did giving my top 5 picks from Emissaries of Light. You can find that video right over here. Otherwise, YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy this video right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Thank you. Giving my top 5 picks from Emissaries of Light, giving my top 5 picks from Emissaries of Light, giving my top 5 picks from Emissaries of Light, and you can find that video right over here. Otherwise, YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy this video right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Thank you.